And our next issue really is really kind of a legal issue, and that is the FBI versus Apple on the terrorist's phone. Now, the FBI wants Apple to create a way to unlock the iPhone of one of the San Bernardino terrorists in order to find any information related to the shooting, after attempts to just sync the data to the iCloud and then unlock it failed. Basically, how it works is that if you type 10 wrong passwords into an iPhone, the software deletes all information on the phone, and the FBI definitely doesn't want you to risk losing this information on the terrorist's phone, as it could contain key intel on other terrorists or terrorist cells, information that could save lives. However, Apple has refused to bypass the iOS protection protocols. Their reason for refusing is that they want to protect the privacy of their customers. Now, when it comes to privacy of their customers, I think this is a completely valid concern. However, there are some major issues with this argument. First, the FBI has said that the software will only be applied to the terrorist's phone, and that Apple may keep the software that it creates, where they can destroy it afterwards if they so please. So it's not on everybody's, it's not on every single iPhone customer's phone. It's just going to be on this one guy's phone. Second, this phone wasn't actually owned by the terrorist. It was owned by San Bernardino County, because if you remember, he was a county employee. It is not his personal phone. So to me, there are no privacy considerations at play here. Mr. Rychlak, how do you view that?
Well, you know, it's another one of these very fascinating issues, like the Snowden case,
right,
where you recognize certain rights and privacy and good things on each side of it. But on the other hand, you know, gee, it's, as you say, there's not really a traditional privacy interest here. What I kind of come back to is this. I'm a landlord. I have one little rental house that my wife and I take care of and rent out. If I advertise it as this is a safe house and the police can never come in it, no matter what, I won't let them in, don't worry, you'll have the key and no one else can share it, then the police show up one day with a warrant and say, we want to look inside the house. I don't think I can say no to them.
And that's my next point, is that the FBI has gone down, I think, the proper constitutional procedures, including they did get a warrant from a federal judge. So, I mean, it seems to me, if anything else, that does meet at least the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, which would mean they would have to unlock it, and if I had to keep the house, I'd have to unlock it. What Apple's sort of saying, though, is we don't have a door. We didn't build a doorway here. There's no way to get in this. So you're not just asking us to unlock, you're asking us now to create something new, to really kind of build a door.
Right.
And they said, number one, we don't want to do that, so we're not going to try. But number two, you know, there is not one there, and it's wrong to ask us to make one. I do come down on the FBI side, but you know, man, it's a hard call, and I certainly see arguments both ways.
Claire, where do you fall on this issue?
I agree with Professor Rychlak. It is a difficult line to tread. I also fall on the FBI side. It's definitely more national security is the priority here, but also in terms of privacy, it's the city's phone. So maybe the county should have a say. From a privacy perspective of the owner of the phone. Even if we did consider him to be the owner, he's dead now, so he no longer has a right to privacy.
That's an interesting point. I mean, to me, like I said, since it's just on this one, I can understand. I think there's a completely legitimate concern if the FBI wanted to put this program on all iPhones. Then if I was, that would certainly be okay. I'm behind you, Apple, 100%. That the government should not do that on the iPhones. That we have that privacy concern. But considering it, they said the FBI has been very clear on this. They say, look, it's just for this one phone. You can have the software. We don't want it. You can keep it after you do it. You know, what you do with that afterwards is up to you. You can destroy it. You can keep it for later use. So to me, since they're very narrowly tailoring what they want, to me it seems that what Apple is doing is completely despicable and un-American. I mean, let's not forget that 14 innocent Americans were killed and another 22 were seriously injured by these lowlifes, and Apple wants to protect them. And, I mean, if there is usable intel on that phone, no telling how many lives may be saved from a future attack. Now, did you want to say something, Claire?
Yeah, well, to argue Apple's side, it's not so much that they want to protect those people. Once they create the software, in any other investigation, they can be subpoenaed to apply the same software to other phones of other current customers. So,
but if they want, they can just destroy it. I mean, if they observe that feature.
But I mean, are they going to kill the person who wrote the code? Like,
right.
And it is the establishment of a precedent. We will now say, well, they did it in that case, they can do it again, we can make them do it again. And Apple did kind of have this idea of saying, we're not going to do this, we're not going to have it. So once you do it, I mean, that's Apple's side of the argument, which again, I understand that. I ultimately weigh down against them on the other side, but they're not trying to protect terrorists, they're just saying, we designed this product not to have a back door, not to have a way in, and we think it's important to keep it that way. Once we create one, we're acknowledging we can do it, and we will be told to do it again in some future case, and we don't want to go there.
Well, the way I think about it is that if they do create it, and once it's there, as long as a judge gets a warrant, that's to me, that's the constitutional standard.
But then their safety provision, and frankly, is meaning this idea of a phone that can't be cracked does become meaningless, because that's essentially the standard for any phone today.
Right.
I mean, it's very rare that a police officer has the authority. There are some exceptions, emergency situation, exigent circumstance, where they'd have a right to search without a warrant.
Right.
In most cases, you're going to need a warrant anyway. So you reduce the iPhone security protection to just what everyone else has.
I agree with that. I think that's the best. It's just like I think finding an address book and him in the terrorist's car or whatever. I think he should be afforded the same kind of protection, if you ask me.
Of course, you're assuming a terrorist, but the thing that's going to happen is it's going to happen to to Clarinex or to me, right, or to somebody who's not a terrorist, and that's the concern. That's the argument on the other side.
And like I said, I think I can understand that concern, but since this one is so narrowly tailored, I think they protect from that. And I think the FBI has been very clear that they don't want all this outreaching power, or at least they say they do. Whether you trust them or not, it's a different story. But and that's been the judge's opinion how narrowly it's tailored. Now, FBI Director James Comey wrote in a statement yesterday that the FBI, quote, can't look the survivors in the eye or ourselves in the mirror if we don't follow this lead. Now, I also say, let's not also forget that this is the same Apple that complied with the Chinese government's demand to show its secret data 1 year ago. In January of last year, Apple agreed to have the Chinese government perform, quote, security checks to confirm that there are no, quote, backdoors that might let the U.S. government read Chinese citizens' data. Now, exactly what information was handed over at the meeting was never made explicit, but analysts have said that it would most likely have been the source code, or the raw programming that is used to make the machines work. Now, giving over that data might allow China to build its own software capable of hacking Apple products. And with Chinese hackers being responsible for some of the most proliferous cyber attacks, this is very troublesome. So just think, China has access to your phone's source code if you have an iPhone. But Apple had no problem giving it to the Chinese government because China said that they wouldn't let them in the country otherwise. They wouldn't let their products in the country. I guess if it hurt their bottom line, privacy goes out the window. Do you find this a little bit hypocritical, Claire? That they would do this with China and say, no, FBI?
No, because it's a different question.
Well, if they openly give China the source code and then these people can do whatever they want with it.
Is there any proof that they gave China the source code?
Most analysts say that's what they meant by giving them the security thing.
That's hearsay.
We're not in court here, but that's what most analysts think. So,
I mean, the irony is maybe if the FBI goes to China, China can get it.
Right.
But Apple has not always behaved as a model corporate citizen in a lot of matters, and I think the thing in China I do find very troubling and completely separate from this issue with the FBI. I didn't like when they did that.